We're glad you're able to join us for this slideshow on the draft plan and appreciate your interest in this important initiative. More information on the plan can be found at vancouverplan.ca, and you can share your thoughts via an online survey that's open until Sunday, April 24th. We open our presentation with an acknowledgement that we are on the unceded and ancestral lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. Recognizing the lives, cultures, languages, and peoples of this land, the Vancouver Plan seeks to build on our commitment as a city of reconciliation. Working together with the nations on the plan, and in further work to come, we hope to strengthen reciprocal relationships with each of the three nations to ensure we move forward together. The agenda for this presentation follows 5 key components. We start with some context for the plan. We move then to some background information on the process to date. The bulk of the presentation focuses on content for the plan, and then concludes with next steps in implementation before sharing more information on how you can get involved in this important process. We have reached an exciting moment in planning Vancouver together with the release of a draft plan, and we are in the midst of 3 weeks of engagement work to inform Council's decision on the plan. The Vancouver Plan marks a turning point for the city. The plan proposes a new way for the city to grow, spreading more housing options across all neighborhoods instead of concentrating them in a few areas or along major streets. Adding more housing options in all neighborhoods will help make our neighborhoods and city more equitable and affordable. Over the next 30+ years, the plan will help to set a course for a more livable, affordable, and sustainable city with a strong economy where people and nature thrive. So why a plan? And why now? In so many ways, this is an important time to undertake a citywide land use strategy. The region is changing. Metro Vancouver and TransLink are in the midst of updating their long-range plans, and the Vancouver Plan is an opportunity to align with the work of these regional partners. We also have an opportunity to reflect on what we've learned during the COVID-19 pandemic as we take stock of what matters most and help to plan our future. The importance of having groceries or daily needs close by to us, and the role that these factors play in helping to shape a city that is livable and accessible. The city has also adopted bold plans to address climate crisis and affordability crisis matters, and the plan provides an opportunity to help embody these and land them on the ground. Finally, as you can see on the graphics, Vancouver is the hub of a changing region. The city is home to 25% of the population of Metro Vancouver, over a third of the jobs, and 30% of the housing units. Vancouver's role is big, and it's important to plan appropriately for the future. Our city is blessed with many strengths, and the Vancouver Plan aims to build on these strengths and carry them into the future. The project began by asking Vancouverites what they loved about their city, and this slide highlights the qualities that they raised. The natural beauty that surrounds Vancouver, the mountains, rivers, wetlands, and ocean, the natural places within the city, including parks and open spaces, plazas, beaches, streams, and gardens, our distinct and special neighborhoods, the very diversity of our city in these important areas around Vancouver, our cherished local businesses and community spaces, and the eclectic cultural scene and places for social connection. The public told it that these places and spaces that bring people together and connect us are what they loved most about the city and wanted to see built on into the future. At the same time, we also know that the city is facing some serious challenges, and the community told us about these as well. Issues related to housing affordability and affordability in general, the impact of climate change, the lack of walkable or rollable access to daily needs in many neighborhoods, shortfalls in childcare, feelings of loneliness and isolation, past harms that need to be addressed, including towards First Nations and urban Indigenous peoples, and equity denied communities arising from the city's colonial past and ongoing inequities. Over the past 2 years, we've undertaken a comprehensive planning process to explore how we can address some of these key challenges through a citywide land use strategy while building on Vancouver's strengths into the future. So let's take a quick look at the process that has led us to a plan. Over the past 2.5 years, we've undertaken a comprehensive engagement and planning process to explore how we can address some of the challenges and opportunities while building on these strengths into the future. This has involved technical work and analysis, along with significant community engagement. We started by casting the net wide and asking people about their hopes and aspirations for the future through a series of phase 1 activities. These general areas of feedback and information helped to shape a series of provisional goals that we produced at the end of phase 1 and used to guide our phase 2 activity, where we took out a series of key directions and tested them with the community. In phase 3, we took this work further through an extensive engagement process that helped to look more closely at a series of foundational principles, big ideas, and key areas of change that could be considered as part of the plan. Through this work, we found strong support for introducing more housing choice in all areas of the city, strong support for the idea of complete and connected neighborhoods, a lot of support for job space protection, new entrepreneurial opportunities, and the protection of existing important spaces where people work and thrive around the city. And critically, we also found a lot of support for climate solutions, actions that will help to turn the dial on the climate crisis that we're facing. We also asked people how they thought the city should grow. Should growth be concentrated in a limited number of areas or spread out across the city? And through the engagement activities, we found strong support for the idea of more distributed growth in more parts of the city, spreading growth and change across Vancouver as a whole. Should Council approve the citywide plan in June, we also know there'll be more work ahead. And this brings us to our current phase. Phase 4 assembles many of the pieces that we heard from the community, the key aspirations, goals, opportunities that were identified, the technical analysis. These pieces have been put together into a draft plan. With phase 3 complete, we've been spending the last few months putting the pieces together. After carefully considering community input and carrying out important technical work, the city is now ready to share the draft Vancouver plan that shows how Vancouver could grow and change into the future. So what is the Vancouver plan? The Vancouver plan is a long-range plan to guide growth and change for the next 30 years and beyond. It does this by delivering a unified vision for the future land use of the city. This land use strategy is reinforced through a series of supportive policies that help to achieve the vision. And these, in turn, provide a detailed framework for future area planning and other citywide implementation activities. Importantly, we should note that the Vancouver Plan does not enable rezoning or development applications. It will not provide specific guidance about a particular home or particular business. It won't address very fine-grained issues like potholes on a street. And it does not supersede other important and related policy initiatives, such as Housing Vancouver, Resilient Vancouver, or the Climate Emergency Action Plan. The Vancouver Plan serves as an umbrella policy to hold space for these other important policy initiatives, and it will further set in motion a series of activities to help address the more building-specific or area-specific activities. As noted, there is also more to come. Through the Vancouver Plan, a framework for future area planning and other activities is established. So if you go to vancouverplan.ca and access the plan and flip it open, you'll see a table of contents that looks like the one on the screen. The plan has at its heart a series of 3 foundational principles, 3 big ideas, and the land use strategy through the first 3 parts of the plan. And then, as noted, a series of supporting policy areas covering key topics like housing, economy, climate, ecology, and more. Lastly, the plan concludes with an implementation chapter that sets out how implementation activities and key activities related to public investment will follow after plan adoption. The plan begins with an important vision statement. This is built on the input and activities of the past 2.5 years and attempts to crystallize these into a single vision for the future. That is, Vancouver is a city that lives in greater balance with our ecological systems while providing more complete, inclusive, and resilient neighborhoods where people of all ages, incomes, abilities, and backgrounds thrive. As noted, the plan is also built on 3 foundational principles. These are at the center of the plan. The first is reconciliation, a call for the city to continue to form relationships and mutual respect with the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations and urban Indigenous communities and partners, and to integrate these values into our future planning work. Equity is the second foundational principle. Here, there is a call for the city to advance an equitable approach to planning with particular attention to equity-denied groups and those that have often been left out of past planning processes. Third, the foundational principle of resilience calls on the city to proactively plan for an uncertain future in the face of shocks and stressors like climate change, stresses like affordability, and inequity. These foundational principles further inform 3 big ideas that are advanced by the plan: equitable housing in complete neighborhoods, an economy that works for all, and climate protection and restored ecosystems. These 3 big ideas characterize new ways of growing for the city and will help to steer us to the future we want. We'll take a few moments to unpack each of these over the next few slides. For equitable housing, this means allowing more housing options across the city, including new rental and social housing in all neighborhoods. It means creating opportunities for higher density living off of major arterials for improved livability. And it means creating opportunities for everyone to choose a livable neighborhood that best meets their needs. For complete neighborhoods, this means building on what we love about our neighborhoods, like local businesses, arts and culture and public spaces, and valued amenities like community centers and libraries where we can connect, learn, and grow together. It also means moving towards our climate target of having 90% of people living within an easy walk or roll of their daily needs. So how does this all land on the ground? Importantly, the plan recognizes that we need to be strategic about what we do and where we do it. To that end, the Vancouver plan identifies different types of areas of change across the city, and there are 3 that are highlighted on this slide. Rapid transit areas are the areas that are within a 10-minute walk or roll of rapid transit station or corridor. Many of these areas already have a recent plan, while others don't, and some are in the midst of planning processes right now. Existing and proposed transit routes offer immense opportunities to add much-needed housing, retail, shops, and jobs. Next area is the city's neighborhood shopping areas. These are the heart and soul of our vibrant and diverse neighborhoods. They vary in scale and character and will be critical nodes for adding more housing, job space, amenities, and services. The last area are the multiplex areas, which are the low-density residential areas that currently comprise most of the land base of the city, about 50% in fact. Adding more housing options in these neighborhoods for more families will reinvigorate these areas and offer a new housing type that is currently lacking in the city. The rapid transit areas come in different shapes and sizes. There are higher density areas with significant housing and job space, like downtown or the Oak Ridge Municipal Town Center, and smaller scale areas like King Edward. The emphasis for these rapid transit areas will be on higher density development, including affordable housing, jobs, shops, services, and other amenities. The neighborhood shopping areas are the hub of our residential neighborhoods. These are generally outside the rapid transit areas, and they too have different character and scale. The future of these areas will see more housing choice and active, successful shopping streets with well-supported local serving and small businesses. Last but not least, the multiplex areas are low-density areas with mostly detached housing, duplexes, laneway housing, and secondary suites. The character of these areas varies throughout the city with different lot sizes, age of housing, and varying access to services and amenities. These low-density areas currently cover the majority of the land base in the city and offer tremendous opportunity for creating more housing choice. They've evolved over the decades to accommodate different housing options such as secondary suites and laneway homes, and they will continue to evolve with the addition of new multiplex forms on single lots, further rounding out Vancouver's housing stock to better support our growing city. The second big idea is an economy that works for all. This means protecting and expanding areas for business and employment while continuing to focus major office and business districts. It means adding more job space to neighborhoods. For example, restaurants, home-based businesses, maker spaces, repair shops, so that they better support people's livelihoods. It means ensuring a mix of housing, jobs, shops, and services close to transit. 50% of the city's jobs are located on 10% of the city's land. This includes lands like the Port and South Vancouver industrial area, lands that are used for production, distribution, and repair. These lands are geographically constrained with critical infrastructure ties like rail and highway access. The importance of these lands and their connection to the city's resilience has been highlighted in new ways through the COVID-19 pandemic, where we experienced global supply chain disruptions and the need for space for local production was underscored. These lands are valuable, scarce, and vulnerable to competing uses, but they are critical to the integrity of the city, the region, and beyond. The Vancouver Plan continues to reinforce the importance of these lands, protecting what we have with opportunities to intensify, expand, and enhance our employment areas. The plan also includes opportunities for new job space outside these employment areas through expanding our local shopping areas and exploring new employment space in neighborhoods. Vancouver continues to be a preferred location in the region for business to locate and grow, and businesses have noted that this is being driven by the fact that Vancouver is a dynamic location, providing some of the best access to a diverse and talented labor pool. The third big idea calls for climate protection and restored ecosystems. This means creating people-first streets that are safe and attractive and make space for people to gather, walk, and bike, and for transit, reducing vehicle emissions, and further providing space for nature to thrive. It means supporting construction and building methods that reduce energy consumption as we move towards a zero-carbon city. The current climate crisis is having a real and worsening impact on our city through increased air pollution, deadly heat waves, and destructive flooding. The plan facilitates sustainable living through more complete neighborhoods across the city, with a strong connection between housing and jobs, transit, amenities, and services. The plan continues to move the dial towards a healthy, zero-emission city. Restored ecosystems will entail protecting the city's valued waterfronts and waterways, supporting Indigenous practices, stewardship, and learning. It means making real space for nature, protecting habitat, and ensuring healthy, thriving ecosystems. It means planting more trees, focusing on areas of the city with limited tree coverage. While the city is renowned for its natural beauty, framed by the Salish Sea, Fraser River, North Shore Mountains, and Pacific Spirit Park, most of these ecologically rich areas are actually outside the city limits. Colonization and development have resulted in the loss of almost all of Vancouver's original natural landscape. Currently, there is little room dedicated to ecosystems and nature in the city. We're at a critical point to correct this and need to rethink our relationship between city building and the ecological systems that support us. This is foundational to future planning, and it's foundational to the Vancouver Plan. The plan includes a bold ecological vision, a system of urban habitat areas, and blue-green networks enhancing ecosystems and biodiversity. A strong integration of nature into the urban landscape will result in cooler, healthier living and mean more opportunities for people to connect with nature, improving the overall health and well-being of all Vancouver's residents. The land use vision for the Vancouver Plan is the link of all of these things together. The vision is the integration of all of the key aspirations and goals in the plan. This slide characterizes the different neighborhood areas in the plan, going from the most intensive or dense land uses to the least. The dark purple areas show the Metro Core and Oak Ridge Municipal Town Center, areas that will continue to accommodate a significant amount of housing and job space. The dark pink areas are the transit areas. The light purple are neighborhood centers. The dark peach are for neighborhood villages, smaller scale shopping areas. The light peach is the multiplex areas. We see a strong distribution of complete neighborhoods of different scales across the city, ensuring more equitable growth and change throughout Vancouver. Then we layer on big idea number 2 and see how transit and critical employment areas build on the neighborhoods layer and continue to shape the land use vision for the city. And last, but certainly not least, we layer on big idea 3, the integration of nature into the urban landscape. And collectively, we see the future land use for Vancouver, a path towards a more equitable, livable, inclusive, and sustainable future for all. However, planning for our future will involve making big decisions, setting priorities, and balancing trade-offs. We know we can't do everything we want everywhere, and we know we can't do this all as quickly as we'd like. By being intentional about the future we want, we can have productive conversations about balancing trade-offs and achieving our goals. However, planning for our future will involve making big decisions, setting priorities, and balancing trade-offs. We know we can't do everything we want everywhere, and we know we can't do it all as quickly as we'd like. By being intentional about the future we want, we can have productive conversations about balancing trade-offs and achieving our goals. Here are some examples of trade-offs that we'll need to consider. Thriving shopping areas need neighborhoods with enough people living in them to support local businesses. Higher buildings with more units are required to make affordable housing projects financially viable. Rapid transit investments are substantial and are critical for supporting more affordable housing and job space. Ecosystems need dedicated space in order to thrive, and municipal services and facilities are necessary to meet the needs of a growing population. Having provided an overview of some of the key content for the Vancouver Plan, we turn now to implementation and next steps. When we bring the final plan to Council in June, we will be also outlining the important next steps of work that are recommended if Council approves the citywide plan. This is a long-term plan, and we know it will be impossible to do everything everywhere all at once. The implementation phase of the plan proposes to use the plan as a framework for further work and engagement with the community to make trade-offs and choices, setting realistic expectations about what we can accomplish, expanding and clarifying partnerships with other levels of government and other partners, developing a phasing plan that helps to sequence growth and change to meet our needs over time, coordinating further land use, infrastructure and amenities, and city financial planning together, ensuring that change is practical, achievable, and affordable. Implementation work will include reviewing existing plans for alignment with the Vancouver Plan, amending or rescinding policies where necessary. This will help to simplify our regulatory framework, making it clearer to residents and the development community about how growth and change will take place in the future. As noted, implementation work will also involve a phasing plan for local area planning that will consider Vancouver Plan goals, the timing of regional investments, and other criteria. And it will include an approach to monitoring progress and updating the plan to ensure that it remains relevant into the future. The draft plan currently recommends updates every 4 years to coincide with capital planning at the city, and substantial reviews every 10 years to align with regional growth updates. So what's happening next? We've shared a draft of the plan on vancouverplan.ca and have launched a survey testing levels of support for the plan in its entirety. The survey runs through April 24th, 2022. The survey is available in English, Cantonese, Mandarin, Punjabi, Vietnamese, Tagalog, French, and Spanish. And we are carrying out a randomized Ipsos poll through the same time period and in the same languages. The Vancouver Plan team is out in the field at outdoor information sessions and pop-up events around the city, handing out flyers and directing members of the public to the survey and other informational resources. Staff are available at these locations to answer questions and provide further information. We've also been meeting with various groups and holding presentations like this, sharing information and providing further details on the plan. We are meeting with local First Nations, equity denied groups, and have planned youth and children-focused activities as well. The results of this engagement work will be reported to Council in June when the plan is presented for Council deliberation. We thank you for your attention throughout this presentation and invite you to take a moment to provide your feedback on plan content by visiting vancouverplan.ca and taking the Vancouver Plan survey today. Thank you very much for your time, and we welcome your continued participation in this process.